Well, we made it. Welcome to episode 100 of Before the Battle, live on YouTube. My name is Nick Baldwin of BloodyElbow.com. Joining me, as always, Jed Meshew of MMAfighting.com and Wes Riddle of MMAsoccer.com. But we couldn't just make episode 100 just a regular show. We had to add a little special to it, make it a little special. And as you guys can see on your screens, you will see some familiar faces if you are a longtime listener of Before the Battle. We got the originals, Daniel Levy of BestFightPicks.com and Paolo of, in the past, Sportsnet.ca, but right now, I don't think he does any MMA coverage right now. And also back for the first time in a long time, MMA middleweight for Bellator, Mike Biggie Rhodes. I'm not going to ask you individually how you're all doing, but I'll just say, how are you guys all doing? And you guys can sort of fight for who gets to talk.
I'm doing excellent since everybody else is a pussy.
I'm happy to be back, man. Happy to see all the boys. You know, first time meeting Jed. Nice to meet you, Jed. Daniel, Best Fight Picks, MaxBetSeason.com, Biggie, and Wes. Happy to be back. Episode 100. Proud of you, Nick. You got the show to 100.
Yeah, the first time we did it, when I remember saying, don't know if it'll be a regular thing, but I suppose in hindsight it was. And just for what it's worth, Daniel, the last time you did the show, December 8th, 2016, Paolo, December 21st, 2016, and Biggie, most recently, March 10th, 2017. So three of you, it has been a while, and it's great to have you guys here. So we're not going to waste any time because we have a lot to talk about, and we have a lot of people to break down these fights. And so we're going to change things up just a little bit. Of course, we have UFC Fight Night 126 in Austin, Texas coming up. Instead of going through the whole card as we usually do, we're just going to give our picks for the prelims and then preview the main card as usual. Jed, we usually go through our results from last card. Do you happen to have those handy?
I do have them handy.
Okay, well, let's go back. Last week, what did we have again? UFC 221. Perth, Australia, we had Yoel Romero defeating Luke Rockhold by third-round knockout. We had Curtis Blades defeat Mark Hunt, the co-main. So, Jed, let's go to our pick results, DraftKings, underdog pick of the week, and post-fight bonuses. Who takes home the titles last week?
Our pick result champion was you, Nicholas. You went 9-3. You only missed on Abe, Win, and Jinglian. Both me and Wes went 8-4. Our DraftKings champion last week was Wes Riddle with 360 total points. I came in second with 334.5 points. And Nick, you brought up the rear with 278 points on your DraftKings team. However, you did also do the best in our bonus prediction round. So you correctly predicted Israel Adesanya would get a post-fight bonus. He, in fact, did. You also nailed your underdog pick of the week, Yoel Romero. None of us got fight of the night right. Both Wes and I missed on all of our picks. So, and just for posterity's sake, the fight of the night that evening was Matthews Yi Jingliang, and your performances went to Israel Adesanya and Jussier Formiga.
Well, I'm taking home 2 of the 3 belts. I'm not going to complain, considering I had a rough start to 2018. At least you don't have any belts, Jed.
I know. I had been dominating so far in 2018, but the last couple of weeks I have been not on my game face, and now I've got 6 people to contend with, or 5 other people to contend with. It's going to make my victory that much sweeter, though, Nikolai.
Your chances are much lower, and I will confirm right now before we even watch this card, you are not going to take home a title. That is my prediction. And we will see if that happens. So we have UFC Fight Night 126 coming up this Sunday. Don't tune in on Saturday. You'll be watching some random FS1 podcast on TV, or maybe NASCAR or something. You won't be watching Cowboy Cerrone versus Yancy Medeiros. That is, of course, the headliner of UFC Austin. We also have a heavyweight bout between Derek Lewis and Marcin Tybura in the co-headliner. We will get to that and much more. And also afterwards, we'll talk a little Bellator 194, the rematch between Matt Mitrione and Roy Nelson, which is part of their Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. Patricky Pitbull is taking on Derek Campos in that card's co-main. That is tomorrow night. That is Friday night. So we'll talk a little about that after the UFC card. So as I said, we're just going to do picks for the prelims. We have 6 of them. So we're not going to say a word other than a name. Jed, I'll go to you, Jed, first, and then I guess If we can memorize an order, that'd be great, just so that I don't have to ask the question 6 times. So if we can master this, that'd be great. Let's go Jed, then Wes, then Daniel, then Paolo, and then Biggie, and then I'll wrap things up. So the first fight of the night is Oscar Piechota and Tim Williams in the middleweight division. Jed, who's the pick?
Piechota.
I'm taking Piechota as well on this one.
Gotta go with my boy Oscar Piechota.
You got the pronunciation right, unlike the all of us.
Yeah, let's go with the buzzsaw here, Piechota.
I'm just gonna jump on the bandwagon and do the same with you guys.
I hate to keep this really boring. Not a great way to start out the landmark episode of 100, but I'm going to complete. I don't even know what to call this. I'm used to saying complete the hat trick when all three of us are in agreement. So I don't know. We're all in agreement. It
would be a double hat trick.
Lock of the night already.
I'm going with Oscar Piechota to get the victory here. Let's go to Josh Berkman and Alex Morano. Let's be honest. Not a fight that should be happening. Josh Berkman should not be in the UFC, but it is what it is. It's happening. 170-pound fight between the People's Warrior and Great White.
I mean, you said it, Josh Berkman. I kind of sad to see him still trucking out here after his last few go-rounds. So give me the other guy, whatever his name is.
I'm a pretty big Josh Berkman fan, but it's hard to pick him at this stage in his career, so I'm taking Alex Morano.
Alex Morano for the win.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Josh Berkman just for what the heck, whatever. Maybe he lands a knockout punch. Who knows, man? Let's go with Josh Berkman.
Yeah, I'm going with not Josh Berkman. He lost to Zach Otto, so I got to fade that person always.
I like Biggie's thinking here, and I know I'm saying more than just a name, so I'm already going against my rule. But Carlin Bardsley, formerly of the Parting Shot podcast, had a rule that I followed ever since I heard it. It is to not pick Josh Berkman. It's worked more than it hasn't. So my pick here is Alex Morano. We move to the FS1 prelim card, which kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, with Sarah Cheesecake Morris and Lucy Pudilova.
I mean, I think Lucy Pudilova might not be bad at fighting, so I'm going to pick her.
Man, I wish I had a pick coming into this, but I guess I'm just going to go Lucci. I really don't. I haven't seen that many Sarah Morris fights. I've seen Pudilova fight. And I like her scrappy style. She's pretty tough, pretty durable, so maybe she can get home.
Lucy Pudilova, for sure. She got robbed in her UFC debut, and as long as there's no fluke submission here, she's going to get this done.
Yeah, I'm going to dissent again and go with a fluke submission. So I'm going to go with Cheesecake here with whatever crazy crap's going to happen. So you can completely see a fight where Pudilova's going to be winning, and then all of a sudden, Morris just wins, kind of like what happens with a lot of WMMA fights. So let's go with that.
Yeah, I don't know too much about the other girl. I don't even remember seeing her fight at all. I know Cheesecake isn't the best, but I know she is pretty tough. She might take a beating, but I can see her pulling out the submission.
Well, we're split 3-3. I'm going to go with the Canadian Cheesecake as well to pull off a slight upset. We move to the flyweight division. Roberto Sanchez and Joby Sanchez. Of course, Joby Sanchez, this is his second stint to the UFC. He's coming off 2 wins on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. Jed, which Sanchez will win?
I feel very, very confident that Joby Sanchez is the dirtiest Sanchez.
I like the way you put that. I've kind of been high on Joby Sanchez. I've kind of been leaning his way too. I think he's looked pretty good since he got cut from the UFC. He's put together a pretty impressive win streak. So my pick as well is Joby Sanchez.
Joby Sanchez, the kid's paid his dues.
Yep, no dissent here. I'm going to go with Joby Sanchez as well.
Aye for Joby Sanchez.
And I'll complete the double hat trick or whatever it is called. I'm going with Joby Sanchez here as well. Second last prelim, Jeff Neal, also coming off a win over Dana White on Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He is taking on the brother of Chris Camozzi, which might say something. It is Brian Camozzi. Jed, Neal, or Camozzi?
Man, talk about a really esteemed title to have, the brother of Chris Camozzi. Just because you presented it that way, I'm going to take Jeff Neal.
This is a fight I've kind of been back and forth on, to be honest, but I've been pretty impressed with Jeff Neal. I think I'm going to be taking him in this one. I feel like I'm pretty confident in a possible knockout. He's got some pretty good pop on his hands when he pushes forward. So I'm going to take Jeff Neal on this one.
Got to go with my boy Jeff Neal on this one. Make sure you check out his fight with Kevin Holland. Those two threw down.
Yeah, you know, I already went with Josh Berkman. I was only going to make one dumb pick here, so I'm going to go with Jeff Neal here. Can't pick Kamotsi and Berkman on the same night.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Brian Camozzi, man. I think he's gonna shock you guys. Coming into the UFC, he was highly touted. He was somebody that I had looked into possibly fighting at one point. I think the kid still has the talent. I think he's skilled. I think he's gonna use his range, pick his shots. I can see him coming away with like a split decision here. I think he'll get the victory.
I'm going to go with your favorite here, Jeff Neal. I like him by knockout. I feel like I'm higher on Brian Camozzi than others in general, but I liked what I saw from Jeff Neal on the Contender Series, so I'm going with Neal inside the distance. Last one, Jared Gordon taking on Carlos Diego Ferreira in the 155-pound division. Jed, kick things off. Do you like the favorite here, Flash, or the Brazilian?
This is actually a really good fight. I'm going to take Flash Gordon, partly because what a sensational fight nickname. I like to support men who know how to pick their fight nicknames, but I actually think this is a great fight, and I'm really excited for it, which I couldn't have said about any of the previous fights.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one too. This could definitely, I feel like, be a fight of the night contender. I'm pretty high on Jared Gordon. I was also pretty high on Carlos Diego Ferreira. But seeing that he hasn't really fought too much recently, he's kind of coming off a pretty big layoff. I think Jared Gordon has some good momentum in his hands, man. I've been super impressed with his 2 UFC fights so far, and he had a great career beforehand. So my pick is Jared Gordon in this one. I think he wins it pretty decisively.
I might actually go with Carlos Diego Ferreira here for the upset, man. I think that when he left, I mean, he beat OAM, and you saw that sweep he hit OAM with in that 3rd round. That was some serious shit. And if Jared Gordon tries to take this 3rd-degree black belt to the mat, he might get swept too. And I know his pace is serious, so you know if Carlos is feeling that layoff, he might it might get to him. But I think Carlos is the more skilled guy here, so I'm gonna go with Diego Ferreira for the upset.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Brazilian here too. When this first opened and I saw that Diego Ferreira was getting bet up. I'm like, oh, what's going on here, man? Like, people are totally overlooking this guy, like the same way they overlooked him against OAM. So I think maybe something like this is gonna happen. But then again, I haven't really watched a lot of Jared Gordon, but I'm gonna pick Ferreira.
Oh man, I'm kind of up in the air about this one. I know, like you said, Jared Gordon, phenomenal story, great fighter, likes to push the pace. But the thing is I just recently watched Ferreira grapple against Mike Chiesa, who's a huge fucking dude. And, I mean, that was a very entertaining grappling match where he wasn't outmatched on the ground with the bigger guy or the pressure. So I'm kind of up in there with that. But if I got to pick one, I'm going to go with I think Jared would just be a little bit more sharp, a little more fresh right now. So I'm going to have to go with him in that fight.
Give me Jared Gordon here. I've been high on both guys, but Diego Ferreira, coming off that layoff, hasn't fought since January of 2016. So it's been over 2 years. Obviously, also coming off that USADA suspension. That is why he's been off for so long. And so I'm always a bit lenient as far as picking guys coming off drug test failures. So give me Flash Gordon here, maybe inside the distance. With that, let's move on to the 6-fight FS1 main card, kicking off at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. And you might notice it is an hour earlier than usual. It is not one of those dreaded 10 p.m. Eastern cards. So that's not bad. The timing could still work or could still use a little work. A little earlier would be nice. We kick things off in the lightweight division with Super Sage Northcutt and T-Balt GT Goatee. Jed, we'll go to you first. Are you picking the sizable favorite here, Northcutt, or do you think the Frenchman, T-Balt Goatee, can pull off the upset?
I'm going to take Sage Northcutt. I won't be shocked if he loses because no one should ever be shocked if Sage Northcutt loses at this point. He's just still kind of raw and developing on a slower track than we would have thought. I'll leave other men, since we have so many to talk about, the aspects. One thing I will say here that certainly would sway it for me if other things weren't is I talk about all the time when Sage Northcutt fights. I know he's a karate guy. I know he's ostensibly a striker. This dude wrestles a shit ton, and he's got a pretty strong power double leg. I think even if somehow Goatee's getting the better of him on the feet, I think he can just blast double his way and take a win here on the ground. So give me Sage Northcutt by decision.
Yeah, I think I'm leaning Sage Northcutt in this one as well. Nothing against Goatee. I think he's a pretty good fighter. I just feel like he kept getting caught and kept getting put up against pretty solid competition a little bit too early. I think he's got a pretty good skill set. Kind of question the chin sometimes, but I think Sage Northcutt is a pretty still developing athlete. I had a chance to watch him fight in Norfolk live, and I thought he put on a pretty good performance against Quinones. Got the unanimous decision there. I feel like if he does utilize that wrestling, that could definitely be a hole. I think we kind of saw it when Goatee fought. It might have been OAM. There was a fight that he got. Yeah, it was OAM. Got taken down a couple times in there, and just didn't really look the best off his back. So I think Sage can definitely, if he just sticks to his game plan, doesn't get a little bit too wild, tries to stay a little cool, calm, collected, kind of like he did in the Norfolk fight, his last fight, I think he can definitely get the victory here. So I'm taking Northcutt as well by unanimous decision.
Man, I feel like we often forget the kid's only 21 years old. So, you know, he made rapid improvement since he moved over to alpha male. Uriah Faber's got him right. And you saw, I mean, that fight against Quinones compared to the fight against Mickey Gall, it's a completely different guy. So, you know, I'm not buying into that hype yet because, you know, it's not like Quinones put him in a bad spot, so you couldn't really see his heart or anything like that. But that being said, I think he's got enough to beat T-Ball Goody. And I think he's going to get him out of here as well with strikes.
Yeah, with T-Ball Goody, it's like this guy's actually pretty good for the role he's playing, right? Because I think like the UFC is utilizing this guy like a jobber. Because I mean, this guy's lost 3 fights in a row and they still kept him around. But it's because he's a lot better than the role they're giving him. But I mean, they're feeding him to Sage Northcutt here again. And I mean, I want to pick him, but he's just outmatched here because Sage Northcutt is just more explosive, is faster, hasn't been beat up as much as Goatee, and yeah, he has that wrestling as Jed said. So I think that's going to be the X factor here. So Sage Northcutt probably by finish at some point.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to just jump on the bandwagon here with the crew. You know, Sage spent some time up here at Rufus Sport helping Tyron out a couple different times for the Stephen Wonderboy Thompson camp, and being a bigger body, I got to train with him. The kid actually really does have heart, man, and it just sucks that, you know, in the fights it just haven't went his way, but we've put pressure on that kid. We tried to break that kid in practice. I was not a big fan of his until training with him, and just seeing how hard the kid worked. And like you said, he's so young. He's still growing into his body and his athleticism and learning how to fight MMA. You know, it's more than just physicality once you step in that octagon. But I think he will be too much for Goldie, and I think he'll TKO him. I think he'll get a finish early in the second round.
It's hard not to go Sage Northcutt here, and not because he is a world beater just yet. I think he could be. I started to doubt him after a couple of UFC losses, but he looked really improved in his last fight against Quinones. I mean, that time off, he took about a year off, I think it was, starting to train at Team Alpha Male. I mean, this guy looked completely different, as Daniel said, and I think he definitely has a future in MMA and the UFC. I think that was pretty obvious when he made his debut back in October 2015, but I think more so now than ever. Thibaut Goutte, I guess if he's going to win, it's going to be by, you know, taking Northcutt down and grappling him, maybe looking for a choke, but I just don't see that happening. Northcutt seems to manage his distance better than he has in the past. He's getting better at counter striking, and I think that's what he's going to do against Goatee. I'm not super confident he'll stop Goatee, but I think it's possible. I think there's a good chance Super Sage gets the finish here by TKO. If he doesn't, it'll be a fairly lopsided, unanimous decision. We move on to the featherweight division. We got Steven Peterson taking on Brandon Davis. Peterson is coming off, I want to see, he was on Contender Series, wasn't he? Yes, he was. He lost to Benito
Series,
Lopez.
That's not what he's coming off of.
No, he's coming off the win at LFA. Yeah. But he was on Contender Series, lost to Benito Lopez, who has made his debut since that fight. He's taken on Brandon Davis, who won that super awesome fight against Austin Arnett on Contender Series, but he fell short in his UFC debut last month against Kyle Bochniak. Jed, do you like Ocho or Killer B, the other Killer B?
I have seen roughly one fight of each of these men. It was their Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series. Both of them did fairly well. But Brandon Davis's fight was awesome, and so I'm going to take him on the merits of that.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to this one actually quite a bit. I actually have been kind of tempted in picking this for maybe my fight of the night. I think these two are both really scrappy. I think they both have some pretty good hand speed, and they can mix up their game pretty well. I think when it came down to just kind of watching their fights more recently, I kind of have been tempted to go Steven Peterson, to be honest. I think this guy has some pretty good hand speed, maybe a little bit faster actually than Brandon Davis. And I feel like he utilizes his game and some pretty good pressure in his fights to where he's willing to take some risks. And that could definitely hurt him in this fight. He has been stopped a couple times in his career. But I think that Peterson is going to be a little bit more durable of an athlete. I think he'll be a little bit more active on the feet. And I think he can utilize takedowns in there as well to maybe get Davis on his back. And I feel like if he can do that, just his activity can probably get him the victory. Then again, Davis is a pretty good athlete, and he can definitely hang in there too. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Probably one of my favorites on the card. But I'm going to take Peterson here. I think it'll be a close fight, maybe come down to a close 29-28 decision. But Peterson's my pick.
Way more important than any of these picks, you all need to look at the thing I just posted in the group chat. And then you can continue. But it's pretty fucking incredible.
So we're just going to take a break? Or
I mean, whoever wants to talk can, but trust me, you all want to see that.
So, look, Brandon Davis, I mean, he's an aggressive striker. Kind of reminds me of Zaleski a little bit, a green Zaleski. And, Steven Peterson, I kind of like his grinding style. It looks ugly, but he's super effective. I actually thought he won that fight against Benito Lopez. And in this spot, he's moving up to 145 pounds. I feel like he's going to perform better at this weight class. That's at least what he says. So I'm going to go with Steven Peterson for the upset.
Yeah, I like Steven Peterson here too, man. Like when this line, I think the line is a little bit off. I think this is a little bit more of almost like a 50-50. I know Brandon Davis, maybe he's a little bit more technical, he's a little bit sharper, but I mean, he lost to Kyle Bochniak, man. And I mean, I don't know if he was a favorite in that fight. Maybe he was a slight favorite, but I mean, I don't know. He showed a lot of things in that fight that I really didn't like about him. That's tempting to fade him. It's like, I don't know. He was kind of doing like a little bit too much Bobby Green in there, like going in Kyle Bochniak to fight him a little bit more. And with the thing with Steven Peterson, he's like the opposite. This guy's just a workhorse, man. Just keeps coming forward, applies a lot of pressure. He's good on the ground too, and I think he's gonna win here based on aggression. Might be one of those fights where Brandon Davis is lighting him up, but he's the guy who's always coming forward, and judges might reward that. So let's give it to the underdog here.
I think Brandon Davis is a part of Alan Belcher's team, if I'm not mistaken. That's just Rufus Sport family there. So I'm going to have to go with Brandon Davis there just purely off that merit, and I really don't know too much about the other guy. So, boom, there you go.
I'm kind of with Biggie here. I don't know a ton about Peterson. I don't recall seeing his fight on Contender Series against Benito Lopez, and his last fight on LFA, I do believe I missed as well. So, my pick here isn't super valid, but I will go with Killer B here, Brandon Davis. I wasn't super – I mean, his debut in January at UFC 222 was a little underwhelming. Kyle Bochniak got the job done in just an underwhelming fight, to be honest. But I think we'll see a bit more from Davis, and that's kind of how I see this one going. I think he'll he's a scrappier guy, although Peterson is scrappy himself too. I just see Davis outpointing him over 3 rounds. So give me Brandon Davis by unanimous decision. We move to the welterweight division. We got the Pitbull himself, Thiago Alves, taking on newcomer Curtis Millender. And if you know anything about Millender, this guy's seems to be a pretty talented guy. He's coming over from LFA, coming off quite a few knockouts. I know his last fight was a fun knockout, and I would think his last few were as well. Jed, you like Alves here, the veteran, or do you think the newcomer can pick up a pretty big win in his debut?
I mean, you know that I'm fairly high on Thiago Alves in general. I know he's past kind of that peak of his career, but I've always respected his veteran game, especially in the later portions. But I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to take Curtis Millender, partly because, again, great fight nickname, Courteous Curtis Millender. fantastic stuff. I appreciate it. And two, I do think maybe, I believe in the skill and the technical developments of Thiago Alves, but I think that maybe he's just a little too past his prime at this point. I think Molinder has really impressed me with his showings in the LFA and his one fight in Bellator. So I won't be surprised if I'm wrong if Alves just kind of has the goods still here, but I'm going to go with Molinder just to make it fun. Let's do it.
I like that pick. Curtis Molinder's a really fun guy to watch. I think he's got a great skill set. One of the more entertaining fighters I think that we could see on the card. But man, I hate picking against Thiago Alves. He's one of the guys that pretty much got me into mixed martial arts and has been one guy that I followed for quite a long time. So for me, it's kind of a tough thing to do to pick against him. So I'm not going to pick against just to make it interesting. I'm going to stick with Thiago Alves. He was kind of my initial pick. I feel like if he can get some takedowns in there, maybe he could definitely get the victory here because we've seen Curtis Molinder struggle with that. But on the feet, man, Molinder's just an absolute killer with his striking technique and his kicking. I think he could definitely pose some threats to possibly finish Thiago Alves, maybe by knockout. But I'm going to go Alves here. I thought he looked all right in the Patrick Cote fight. For who Patrick Cote is, of course. Now he's retired, but I really, like I said, it's hard for me to go against Thiago Alves. So I'm going to pick him. I think it could be a close fight, but I'm not going to be surprised at all if Molinder goes in there and lands some crazy knockout.
Got to go with the newcomer, Curtis Molinder here. I think he's got a great setup for his high kick. Make sure you check out his fight with Kevin Holland. Those two threw down. And, Thiago Alves is a hot and cold fighter. Back in the day, he couldn't make weight for 170. Nowadays, he's, dropping to 55, and it's just a different era, man. He remember when he was on that big win streak, beating Koscheck, beating Hughes, and he got the title fight with GSP. But since that point, he's literally a 500 fighter since the GSP fight. So I'm gonna go with the newcomer here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Thiago Alves here. The thing about Curtis Molinder is, like Daniel pointed out, that high kick, and especially because he's so much significantly taller than Thiago Alves, and we've seen from some past fights, especially if you watch Molinder's fight, or if you just watch the John Jones fight against Cormier, or like other fights where like the other fighter's taller than the other guy, it's like that head kick's right there, man, and that's his specialty. But I mean, being a taller fighter, you're also more susceptible to body shots or like leg kicks, and that's something like Thiago Alves is really good at. So I think it ends in one of those two ways: either Curtis catches him with a friggin' head kick and puts him away, or Thiago Alves gives him a liver shot or kicks his legs to death and just finishes him on the ground. Right now I'm gonna go with Thiago Alves, but I gotta see how he looks in the weigh-ins, and I don't know. It's hard, like you guys said. I mean, it's hard with Thiago Alves. This guy's very inconsistent. You never know when he's gonna unleash the killer in there, if he even has that killer in him nowadays. But we'll see. But right now I'm just gonna go with Thiago Alves because he's the more proven fighter.
Yeah, I think you guys are a lot higher on Curtis than I am. I don't actually see exactly what you guys are so high on him for. Yes, he did have that big knockout, but if you watch that fight, it was pretty sloppy. You know what I mean? That guy's defense was terrible, hands down, punching, leaving his hands down. That's not Thiago's game. Thiago plays like an old school Dutch kickboxing game. Hands are high and tight, checking the kicks, low kicks. I think that's going to be the fault in the fight, is the kid's going to rely on throwing a lot of head kicks. He's going to get blocked, and he's going to get that leg kicked as soon as it lands on the ground with all the weight on there. I think Thiago's going to chop him down, push him up against the cage, knee his legs, knee his body, possibly try to take him down. But I just don't see this kid beating the more technical Thiago Alves on his feet. I think the kid's a little sloppy. I think with him being tall, I see him there for the overhand right, body hooks, and stuff like that. So I just see Thiago Alves actually just chipping away, a pretty savvy veteran fight. I see him getting the win. Unanimous decision.
Yeah, this is a close fight, but I am going to go with the Brazilian, the Pitbull, Thiago Alves in this fight, simply because, this is a big step up for Curtis Molinder. I know Alves appears to be past his prime, but in his last fight against Patrick Cote, he looked pretty good. I was impressed with that performance. Granted, it was against Cote, who retired right after that fight. So that says something. It's not, maybe in hindsight, not the biggest win, but I thought he could look good nonetheless, better back at 170 than when he did his one fight stint at 155 against Jim Miller, which did not work out whatsoever, missing weight and losing that fight. I think he has the fundamentals down pat in the striking department a bit more than Melender. Melender, has his flashy stuff, but I think Alves is going to be able to chop him down, as Biggie said, with his leg kicks. And if he wants to mix in a bit of his wrestling as well, I think that is possible. So I think Alves wins this fight wherever it goes. Melender probably needs to land something big and finish him if he does want to get the job done. That's sort of how I see it going, but it wouldn't shock me. This is MMA after all. Anything can happen. And Melender, if anyone's going to pull off some crazy knockout, it probably is Curtis Melender. So I'm going to go Thiago Alves by decision, but close fight. We move to James Vick and Francisco Trinaldo in the 155-pound division. Super interesting fight. We got number 12 versus number 14. I know when this was announced, they were actually, I think, ranked identical. I think they're either both 13, both 14. So obviously very close. And we will see in the rankings, that is, and we'll see if there's close in skill come Sunday night. Jed, do you like the Texecutioner or Master Duba?
I'm going to tell you how I'm going to pick this fight, and then I'm going to tell you how this fight's going to go, because I'm notoriously bad at picking Francisco Trinaldo fights. I believe Francisco Trinaldo is a great fighter. He has a very, very good resume at lightweight, and I think I picked against him in every single one of his wins. James Vick, on the other hand, is who I'm going to take here. The Joe Duffy win sealed it for me. I just thought I've been very high on Joe Duffy for whatever reason. And at this point, it kind of seems like maybe I was just wrong about that. But I thought Vick handled that with great aplomb. He adjusted super well and then just executed Duffy in the second round there. I'm going to take James Vick. I just think I really want to see him against top 10 opposition in this division now. I think he may have made some type of a leap towards that upper echelon here. I'm going to be super unsurprised when Trinaldo just fucking dusts him, because I can't ever pick a Trinaldo fight right. But give me James Vick with some type of a third round stoppage.
I like that pick. I know exactly what Jet's saying. Francisco Trinaldo is a fantastic fighter, but sometimes I kind of question his cardio. I think that's probably one of the bigger things in this game. We kind of saw that back when he fought on Tough. I think he's probably one of the best fighters there in the lightweight division when it comes to the first round. Then as it kind of progresses, he slows down quite a bit. I think when it comes to James Vick, man, I think after that loss that he had to Beneil Dariush, I feel like after that he's taken off and he's becoming pretty much just a massive threat to the division. I think his striking game is just drastically improved. I think he's a very well-rounded fighter, and I think he's got all the tools pretty much. I think Trinaldo could possibly take the first round, but I really think that Vick is going to be able to take over this fight late part of the first round, definitely the second round, and for sure in that third round. I actually have James Vick picked by a third round knockout. But I'm tempted to go second round. I really think Vick can possibly get a stoppage here. So I think they're both pretty good fighters, but Trinaldo's up there in age, man. I guess he's like 39 or 40 years old now. Still looking great, but I think James Vick is a little bit more hungry at this point in his career, and he looks pretty unstoppable, I think. So Vick is my pick.
People have been sleeping on my boy Vick for way too long, and been telling y'all this guy's a future top 5 guy. And now he's proven it, and, he faced defeat like a champion. I mean, you saw, like, when some guys take an L like that, they'll never be the same ever again. Like, you've seen a bunch of hype prospects. Now they're on, 3, 4 fight losing streaks, and it is what it is. But with Vick, man, I mean, now he's on the best run of his career, getting better every single fight. And much respect to Trinaldo, because a lot of people turn this fight down. People don't realize that a lot of high-profile names turn this fight down. Trinaldo took it without a problem. So much respect to him for going to Texas to take on Vick. But I think that, the left hand's dangerous of Trinaldo. We know this. And Trinaldo is a very experienced guy. But to close the distance on a guy like Vick, you have to take like 4 or 5 steps. And, you're going to get more tired every single time you do that. I just think that, a guy who historically has cardio issues like Trinaldo does, this is a very tough matchup for him. So he has to put Vic away in that first round if he wants to win this fight. I don't think he will, though. I think Vic's going to get the stoppage.
Yeah, Vic's actually one of my – actually, Vic is probably the only guy I'm confident – the only favorite I'm confident in this card. The thing about Trinaldo is, like you said, he's got cardio issues, and I can totally see this guy start clinching Vic when he starts getting tired, maybe push him up against the cage, and that's trouble with Vic because, I mean, he's got that deadly guillotine choke, and I think that's how he's going to finish Trinaldo here. Now, the thing about that knockout with Benny Darius, like, yeah, he came back from that and he came back better than ever, but you also got to consider that was like a short notice fight because, like, Vic just fought like a month earlier or something like that, and he was supposed to fight Evan Dunham, and then Evan Dunham pulled out and it became Benny Darius. So now you're going from a wrestler like Dunham, who's like basically the block-headed guy who just keeps marching forward, to a zombie, to like this skilled Brazilian jiu-jitsu guy with Benny Darius. So like the change of opponent and all that factors consider. But yeah, James Vick, man, this guy's one of those underrated guys in the division. He's only lost to Darius, and it was because of that short notice fight. He's beaten everyone else, and there's a reason why nobody wants to fight James Vick in the division right now. So yeah, give me James Vick by third round guillotine choke.
Yeah, I don't really know which way to go for this fight. I like James Vick. I know my guy Daniel Levy is super high on Vick. It's probably like the only fighter he truly pushes ever. He throws James Vick down everybody's throat. So you know what? Just to please my man Levy here, I'm gonna go with Vic with the win. How about that?
Daniel, you've been high on Trinaldo, though. I mean, I always haven't you, or am I getting that wrong? You like Trinaldo,
of course, because I mean, how can you not love a guy like Trinaldo? The guy's such a badass, and again, like I said earlier, man, he was one of the only people willing to step up and take this fight. So, much respect to that guy.
Yeah. In this fight, this is a close fight. I think the line might be off a little bit. I was seeing Vic at maybe as high as 2.5 to 1. I think that's a little off. Trinaldo's he's a strange fighter in the sense that he wins fights he shouldn't, or it seems like that. I know he went on a tear before losing to Kevin Lee. He's back on track, beat Jim Miller in his last outing back in October. This is a tough matchup for him. I don't think it'll be a walk in the park for James Vick, though, either. I mean, I think Trinaldo's going to do good work in the first round, chopping him down with leg kicks, and I think he'll just outstrike Vick in the early going. But once he starts to get a little tired, it seems like Vick gets better as the fight goes on, and it's complete opposite for Trinaldo. I think Vick will do really well in the later rounds. I mean, and also keep in mind, this guy has a 6-inch reach advantage, and the height is 6 inches in favor of the American as well. I mean, he uses his length pretty well, and I think he'll be able to get the job done here with a submission. He's super lanky and super talented on the ground, and that's where he's going to do his best work. Once Trinaldo is starting to get a little tired in that third round, Vick is going to turn it on and get a third-round submission. So I think we're all on board with James Vick, and we might also I'll be picking Vick by submission. So it seems like maybe don't go throw him in a super big parlay, but he seems like a pretty solid pick, at least if you're talking to someone before the battle. We go to the co-main event. It's the heavyweights, Derek the Black Beast Lewis taking on Marcin Tybura. Jed, we'll go to you first, of course. The Black Beast or Tybura? Who do you like here?
Ooh, really good question. I'm taking Derek Lewis just because I can't quit him. I have a sneaking suspicion that I'm going to be wrong here, but I don't know. I just feel like I think Marcin Tybura is not bringing the same type of artillery that Derek Lewis is coming with. Derek Lewis is going to get that extra, like, not exactly hometown, but home state bump. And I just feel like he's only, if this was 5 rounds, maybe I feel a little different. I know Derek Lewis's cardio has not exactly impressed, and even over 3 rounds, that could still be a concern, I guess, realistically. But I think he's swinging heavier lumber here, and I like Derek Lewis. That's pretty much it. Like, I want him to win. I want him to win in front of his home state. He's super cool. He's funny. He did dope shit during the hurricane out in Houston. So go for Derek Lewis. Give me the Black Beast by KO in the second round.
I've been kind of back and forth on this one. There's definitely some holes, I feel like, in each of the games that we could probably hit on, but I don't want to talk about it too much. I guess my pick down in the end, I'm going Derek Lewis as well. I like his explosive abilities sometimes when he's able to utilize that. He put up a pretty impressive streak there before he lost to Mark Hunt. I feel like if I remember the Mark Hunt fight, I feel like maybe he got some kind of like leg injury at some point in that fight and just kind of struggled from like the midway point or a little earlier on, and just kind of he couldn't really get his momentum going. Couldn't really. He had no ability to really push forward, if I remember right. And Marcin Tybura, he's an all right fighter. I mean, we saw him have a pretty decent round there in the last against Fabricio Verdum. I think he still landed like over 100 punches in that fight, which to do that against a guy with the prestige of Fabricio Verdum is pretty impressive, no matter how long or no matter how he looked in the first 4 rounds. So props to him. But I think Derek Lewis has just a better cardio in this one. I like his explosive abilities. And like Jed said, this is in front of probably a lot of people that are going to be pulling for him. It's hometown in a sense. And I would definitely not want to see him lose, especially if I was a fan of him or knew him just there in person and cheering him on. So I'm taking Derek Lewis in this one. I think he's a really cool guy. Would like to see him get the job done here. Won't be surprised if Tybura can pull one off, but Lewis is going to be my pick by a third-round knockout.
I'm a fan of the Black Beast, but I got to go with Tybura here, man. I mean, he's got that volume striking style. You don't often see that with the heavyweights. And, obviously you got to respect the power of the Black Beast. Don't want to get caught with those bungalows, man, because that dude throws heat. But I got to go with Tybura here by unanimous decision.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tybura here too. And it's just because of the trend from Derek Lewis, man. Every time this guy fights decent striker or solid striker, he loses. I mean, Mark Hunt, great striker, he lost. I think before Mark Hunt, he lost to Sean Jordan. I think that was that crazy sweet chin music that Sean Jordan pulled on him. So maybe you can sweep that under the rug because nobody thought it was coming. But before Sean Jordan, he lost to Matt Mitrione too. And like the only good striker he beat was Guto Innocence. And Guto Innocence is like a middleweight or a light heavyweight. So, I mean, the huge size disparity was too much. But against Tybura, I initially thought Tybura was a smaller guy because the way this guy fights, I mean, he's pretty quick and he's a volume striker. And you usually think of that from smaller heavyweights. But this guy's as tall as Derek Lewis and he's only about 20 pounds, 15 pounds lighter. So you got to go with Tybura here.
Paolo does not respect Roy Nelson's big right hand.
Yeah, but Roy Nelson kind of like fought like a wrestler in there and just kept clinching Derek Lewis. And like, I don't know, Roy Nelson's been fighting like a wrestler nowadays. I don't know what's up with him. Maybe all the damage is starting to, accumulate on Big Country.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Derek Lewis, and I'm just gonna go with him based on the merit of some of the things you guys said. At heavyweight, it's hard to be a volume striker because they are throwing fucking bombs. You can't play around at heavyweight. You get hit with one shot and it's game over. And I think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to volume strike, throw a lot of kicks, and I think Derek Lewis is going to counter off one of those early. I think he's going to actually get the finish in the first. And it might just be wishful thinking because I want to hear him on the mic. I want to hear him say some crazy shit. Tell Ronda Rousey he loves her and bring her sexy ass. I just want to hear some of that shit. So I'm going with Derek Lewis.
Good way to pick a fight, Biggie. I respect that. Man, this is a tough one. And it could be a quick knockout, could be a third round KO, or it could just be a bad fight. And I hate to say it, but I'm kind of leaning in that direction of it being kind of just a little sloppy and not super entertaining. I mean, Tybura seems to be the better fighter, but I always find it – I always have a tough time going against the Black Beast just because, I mean, he's Derek Lewis. He does kind of weird stuff in the cage. He's losing fights at times, and then he just sort of swings or gets on top of you, and it's all over. And so purely off the fact that Lewis is the more dangerous fighter, I'm going to pick Derek Lewis with a third-round ground-and-pound TKO after – a competitive first 2 rounds, one might go Tybura's way. It wouldn't surprise me if Lewis goes into the 3rd round needing a finish. Yeah, I think there's a lot of outcomes that are really possible. I mean, obviously in any fight there are, but this one more than many, in my opinion. I mean, it really could go either way. Tybura seems to be the more technical guy. He has a bit better striking, I think, but Lewis hits harder. He's more dangerous, and it's tough to go against someone like that. So give me the Black Beast with a 3rd round TKO. And that brings us to the UFC Fight Night 126 Austin main event. We go to the welterweight division. Number 11, Donald Cowboy Cerrone taking on number 15, Yancy Medeiros. Jed, do you like Cowboy here, the slight favorite, or do you think the Hawaiian can pull off the upset and pick up the biggest win of his career?
I super don't feel good about this one. I tweeted earlier, and I stand by this assessment. This is a fight that should be super fun, like a main card opener that steals the show, not a pay-per-view or not a fight night main event. James Vick, Francisco Trinaldo probably maybe has a better claim for that. I know Vick's not the star Cerrone is, but I digress. I think Cerrone's done. I think the Till fight made me think that wasn't just a super bad matchup, but he has also regressed. All the things that he did once he moved up to welterweight that were improvements about keeping guys off of him, he seems to have completely abandoned them. And frankly, I just think his head's not in the game anymore. He's been doing podcast stuff talking about how he is, he's still going to fight, but he is now kind of working into being an actor, and good for him. 100%. He has given us more than enough. But this is a tough game, man. If you're not out there to be a killer, you're going to get killed. Yancy Medeiros has a ton of problems, a ton of defensive liabilities, and Donald Cerrone is a dude with a lot of skills, a lot of potent offense, and the ability to capitalize on the holes Medeiros will open. But Alex Oliveira almost killed him, and Yancy kept coming through. I think even if Cerrone blasts him, he's going to have to get a submission. And like I said, I just think his head's not really in it anymore. I think his heart's kind of out of the game a little bit. He's focused on other endeavors, and Yancy's still here to fight. So give me Medeiros for, I believe, a slight upset, and we'll see what's next for Cowboy after this.
I don't know if I picked any upsets on this card. And I'm tempted to go Medeiros. I've been back and forth on this one.
You picked Derek Lewis. Did you pick Peterson or Davis?
I picked Peterson.
Then you picked Peterson and Lewis are upsets.
Okay. Well, I guess I got 2. Not bad. I'm tempted to go for a 3rd here with Yancy. Man, he's so durable, but I think Jed touched on all the right places. I think Medeiros has quite a bit of holes in his game, and we've seen it in pretty much all of his last 3 fights, in a sense. I love Sean Spencer. I think he's a great athlete. Yancy got the finish in that one. But the last 2, Eric Silva and Alex Oliveira, got hit quite a bit in those fights. The Alex Oliveira one was fantastic, as we remember. But he was able to pretty much withstand his durability and come back there and get the knockout victories. Again, I feel like he gets hit quite a bit. Cerrone kind of does too, especially as we've seen in the last couple fights. I feel like this is a very close and tough fight to pick because both of these two, Medeiros, his durability could give way at any point. I feel like Cerrone, we've kind of seen it recently where he's just getting hit quite a bit and he's not really able to take that punishment too much anymore like he used to back in the day. And I feel like it all kind of started there with the RDA fight and then especially the Masvidal fight. I'm gonna go Cerrone just because I love the dude. I think he's an awesome fighter. I've always enjoyed his personality. And I feel like maybe he can get a victory here, but man, I feel like it's going to be tough. But Cerrone's my pick. I don't want to prolong it too much, but I'm going to be taking him by. I feel like it's going to be tough to pick a decision here, but for either fighter in a sense. But I'm going to pick Cerrone by a second round knockout in a pretty competitive and back and forth fight.
I think I'm gonna go with Yancy Medeiros here. It's a tough fight to call, man, because a couple years ago Cerrone would definitely be the rightful favorite here. But now, I mean, it's just about what's he got left. Is he at that point like Chuck Liddell was when Chuck Liddell started getting knocked out every single fight, or was it just simply bad matchups that he had? You know, because Darren Till and Jorge Masvidal, man, I mean, they made him look really bad. So I'm trying to figure out if that's just the end of the road or if Jorge Masvidal and Darren Till are just that damn good. But that being said, look, like you guys already said, Medeiros is he's super durable. He can get hit. You can hit him with a baseball bat. He'll keep coming forward. So that's a pretty damn good quality in a fist fight. So I'm going to go with the Hawaiian here.
Yeah, I echo all you guys' sentiments, but the only thing I'm concerned about Yancy Medeiros, outside of the fact that he does absorb a lot of damage, is that this is a little bit of a quick turnaround for him. I don't know, the last time he fought the other Cowboy was just 2 months ago, man. And yeah, I mean, this guy made of steel. The only time he got finished was against Dustin Poirier, and that was when he had the botched weight cut. So that probably factored in heavily on that. And I don't know, like I already bet on, maybe I'm just having better's remorse, but I already have a bet on Yancy Medeiros. And maybe I just think, oh yeah, Cowboy's just gonna fucking dust him with a head kick or some shit like that. Because I'm due for a loss because I've been winning some lately. But yeah, I think, if this is just gonna be a gunfight, I mean, these guys both combined for 10 strikes absorbs per minute, and then they combine for like 9 significant strikes landed per minute. So you know that this is gonna be a freaking gunfight. So you're gonna go with the guy who's right now the tougher guy and the guy who's just more durable than Yancy Medeiros. But I mean, man, if Cowboy goes in there and just dusts him with a head kick or something, I won't be surprised. But gotta go with the Hawaiian here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take Yancy Medeiros here. I think that the way he fights is just very exciting, right? It takes a lot of punishment, but also I like his offensive ability when it comes to his style. He attacks the body, which we've all seen. Cowboy Cerrone is soft to the body. I know he has some kind of procedure way back when or something where he just can't take the body shots like a normal fighter or some fighters do. Kind of Matt Brown-esque with the way they both can't not take the body shots. I think Yancy digs to the body early. I think that's going to wear Cerrone down. I know they both used to be former 155ers, but I think Yancy is the bigger of the two. We got to remember Cerrone was just taking bombs from 70s. And he was already thinking about going back down to 155 because 170 is not for him. He's not big enough for that weight class. I see Yancy holding out, being tougher. I see him TKOing down on late third, maybe early fourth round.
This is a close fight. This is really tough to call for me. And I mean, I've just been thinking about it and trying to envision what could happen. And it's hard not to see Yancy Medeiros getting the win here. But ultimately, I think I'm going to side with Cowboy. I don't know exactly what makes me think that. But I mean, the thing is with Yancy Medeiros is this guy is tougher right now than Donald Cerrone. He can take a shot. We saw that against Alex Oliveira. And I actually would be surprised if Cerrone knocks him out. Like, I don't see that happening. And then if I'm going Cerrone, I mean, maybe a submission. I guess that's probably what it'll end up going, like a late submission from Cerrone, otherwise a decision. But in such a fun fight on paper, it's tough to go to see this going 25 minutes. So not really confident anywhere. But I think Cerrone's a more technical guy. But this just really comes down to, is Donald Cerrone? I mean, you guys talked about it, so I don't need to stress the point too much, but is Cowboy done? He might be. He might have, Darren Till might have stolen the last, little bit of gas that he has left in his gas tank. Jorge Masvidal didn't help him, losing a 3-round decision to Robbie Lawler. That could have gone either way. Doesn't help his stock either, although he didn't take nearly the amount of damage in that one as he did in the other 2 losses last year. And so it's going to be interesting to see where his head is at, and B, physically how he is as well. His chin might be done. I mean, I think they lost to Darren Till, and this might be just wishful thinking because I am going to pick Cowboy, but I think that fight was a little more Till just being really good than Cerrone being done, but I think it's still a lot of both. So this is a big test for Cowboy Cerrone, and it's kind of a shame because 2 years ago, Cowboy Cerrone would be a big favorite. But Yancy Medeiros is on the rise. Cowboy Cerrone is on the decline. And it really just comes down to how much done is Cowboy Cerrone and how good is Yancy Medeiros. The guy's super tough. He can take a shot. He can dish out his own shots, but he's just not as technical as Cowboy. And I think on the feet, Cerrone has a bit more tools. He has his kicks, of course, as well. The body shots from Yancey, as Biggie mentioned, that could come into play. We'll see. But also the ground game, and that's where I think this was finished. I think they're going to put on a super fun first few rounds, and maybe in the fourth round, once it hits the championship rounds, which Cerrone is a bit more used to than Yancey, I think he'll get this to the ground and pull off some sort of submission. I'll go a rear naked choke mid fourth round. That does it for UFC Fight Night 126. With that, let's move on to our post-fight bonuses, and then we'll give our underdog pick of the week. And whoever has a DraftKings team, we will say that as well, but no big deal if we don't. So, Jed, we'll start with you and then just go down the rest of us for our bonuses and underdog pick of the week.
Taking the main event for my fight of the night. I mean, it's just going to be a banger, and it's 5 rounds. If we get 5 rounds, it'll definitely win. So, yeah, give me the main event for fight of the night. Performances, Lewis and Medeiros. I think Medeiros is going to get probably a second-round KO. I like what Biggie said. I think a body shot will hurt Cerrone, and then he'll follow up with punches. And so we'll reward him doubly for that. Lewis is going to knock out Tabura. And my underdog pick, I picked 3 this week, but I'm going to take Melinder as my underdog pick of the week just because – I think it's more fun than taking Derek Lewis or Yancy Medeiros, since most of us picked Medeiros.
So looking at my picks, I'm going to go out on a limb for my fight of the night, make it a little different. One that I think that's really underrated, Steven Peterson versus Brandon Davis. I think this is going to be a really good fight, one overlooked. And I'm thinking if the main event ends early, because Cerrone and Medeiros have been hit quite a bit, then that's not going to be your fight of the night. So I'm looking at all the other fights. That's one I think is going to be really good. 2 bonuses. I picked Cerrone. I guess I'm the only person to pick Cerrone in here. So since I picked him, I'll take him. Okay, so 2 of us. I'll take him for a bonus. I feel like whoever wins the main event is going to get a bonus no matter what. Fight of the night, performance of the night. And my second one, I'm going to go with James Vick. I think he'll be able to knock out Francisco Trinaldo. So he's my pick in that one. And my underdog pick, I'm going to have to go back to my fight of the night. I'm taking Peterson. Steven Peterson, I think, will maybe get an upset there with Brandon Davis. Really good fight. Looking forward to that one. But he's going to be my underdog pick of the week.
I got to go with James the Executioner Vick for fight of the night and performance of the night. Going to stack that 2 bonus checks because him and Trinaldo are going to have a knock, but then he's going to finish him, so he's going to get paid twice. And then I think Alex Morano is going to have a highlight reel knockout over Berkman, so he'll get another $50K. Underdog of the week is Carlos Diego Ferreira.
Damn, I feel like I'm going to be copying from everyone's homework here. But yeah, my dog is going to be Ferreira. Well, come on. It was honestly going to be between him or Medeiros, and someone's going to pick Medeiros because like 4 of us picked him. Or it was going to be Josh Berkman. And I mean, come on, man. I mean, I already picked him to win. I can't give him the dog of the night for that too. So I'm going to go with Ferreira. And performance of the night, James Vick, might as well be the submission of the night. And Medeiros, which is the knockout of the night. I kind of missed those. But yeah, those are the 2 performance bonuses. And fight of the night, gonna copy Wes's homework here. Brandon Davis versus Steven Peterson. I want to give it to Cerrone and Medeiros, but yeah, that fight could end at any time. So and you don't know. But I mean, if it goes more than 2 rounds, I think they could give that to them because they're kind of biased towards main card fights or main event fights. But let's give it to the Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series boys, Davis and Peterson.
For my performance the night bonuses, I think that like you just said, I always see it that way, and it sucks. But the guys with the bigger name on the card, if they're fighting each other, they're most likely gonna get one of the bonuses. And I think if they have the proper knock, that I think they will, with Yancey coming out on top, I believe that they will get fight of the night. And then I'm gonna go with Yancey doubling up on the bonuses there. And then I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Cheesecake is going to come away with a submission, and they love to give it to one of the girls when they fight on the card. They just always seem to get one, even when I don't think they should. So I'm going to go with good old Cheesecake, get one of the bonuses. And I think Yancey will be obviously my underdog pick.
All right. My fight of night, I will sort of play copycat here and go the pretty obvious choice, to me anyways, in Cowboy Cerrone versus Yancy Medeiros. I think that's going to be a barn burner for as long as it lasts, which I do think will be at least 15 minutes. I'm going to change things up for my performances, though. My 2 performance of the night bonuses are going to go to 2 prelim fighters. So I'm being generous to the prelim guys that don't get enough love, Jared Gordon and Jeff Neal. So those are my 2 performance bonus winners, and my underdog pick of the week. It's either Sarah Morris or Derek Lewis. Not confident in either, but I feel a bit better about the Lewis pick, so he will be my underdog pick of the week. And the last order of business before we move on to a little Bellator talk is DraftKings. Jed, I know you and Wes for sure have teams. I do as well, and then from there we'll just sort of see who does, who doesn't. So Jed, who are your 6 fighters on your DraftKings?
My team is very easy to make. I took the 3 underdogs I'm picking, Derek Lewis, Yancy Medeiros, and Curtis Molinder, put them on a team, matched them up with 3 super heavy favorites, James Vick, Alex Morono, and Neal. So, yep, that was pretty easy for me.
We have 3 that are the same. The 3 we have similar are – actually, forget it. I'm just going to start from the top. I've got Thiago Alves. That's the one difference. I've got Derek Lewis. I've got Yancy Medeiros on my team. I had to kind of work with the money that I had. I definitely think he could get a finish there. Again, unpredictability. I'm picking Cerrone. I'm a little biased, though, because I've always liked him. But Medeiros is definitely has full capabilities of getting the job done. I've got Steven Peterson. Like I said, I've been pretty high on him. I've got James Vick because he's awesome. And I've got Oscar Pichota. I think Pichota is going to get a pretty decisive victory there over a guy I don't even remember his name.
Daniel, do you do have a DraftKings team, right? Or
Yes,
no?
sir.
Okay.
James Vick, Diego Ferreira, Sage Northcutt, Alex Morono, Yancy Medeiros, and Joby Sanchez.
Alrighty, and Paolo, I know there was a time when you were sort of the DraftKings master here on Before the Battle. It sounds like off air anyways that you sort of moved on. Do you have a team?
Well, this is how long ago it was. When I was still playing DraftKings, I think they only had 5 guys that you had to pick, and now they have 6 guys on. So that completely just changed up the whole game. But anyway, I've got like one free guy, but right now I doubled up on the main event. I got both Yancy Medeiros and Cowboy Cerrone there. Might change that up later. I got James Vick. I got Ferreira, who's like the underdog. I got Piachota, or whatever. And I don't know who to put in there. I've got a lot. Maybe, you know what? I picked Josh Berkman, but I'll put Alex Morono in there because he fits right in with the salary. So there you go.
Biggie, I know you've done a little bit of betting in your time. Have you hopped on the DraftKings bandwagon?
No, I have not. Man, I'm not even on Twitter and stuff like that as much as I used to be, and you know, it's hard for me to even bet these days. I always forget, and I'm like, shit, I should have bet on that. Dude, my mind is all over the place. And I know you guys are getting ready to go to Bellator and whatnot, but this will be the end of the road for me. I'm tapping out. I've been training since fucking 7:30 this morning, driving all over the place. Just now getting home after last session. So with the fight on the horizon, I got to teach early in the morning. I'm going to have to call it a night, fellas.
Sounds like a plan. I'm just going to give my team real quick, and then I know Daniel is heading off as well, so I'll let you guys plug all your stuff, social media, etc. But my team real quick is so I got 2 guys I'm not picking. Funny enough, the 2 guys on the show picking Cerrone both have Medeiros on their team. So I'm going Yancy Medeiros because he's cheap. My other guy I'm not picking but is on my team is Curtis Molinder, because the thing is, if he's going to win, he's probably going to get a lot of points. So those are my 2 cheap guys, or 2 of the couple. I also got Joby Sanchez on there. Not a huge fan of that pick. I'm not sure how many points they'll get, but I might work this change a few things around because I have $300 to work with. I also got Jared Gordon, Jeff Neal, and Derek Lewis. So it's Lewis, Neal, Gordon, Medeiros, Joby Sanchez, and Molinder. Daniel, I know you have to run. Thank you for coming on. It's great to catch up. Great to have you back. It's been a while, of course, as we said at the off the top. Plug away your podcast, all your website, anything else you got to plug, your social media as well. The floor is yours.
Well, Thank you for having me. It's good talking to all y'all. Check me out, bestfightpicks.com. My podcast, Half the Battle. Find it anywhere that you can find podcasts. And yeah, it's been fun talking with you guys.
Sounds like a plan. And Biggie, I know you don't have a podcast, you don't have a betting website, but any sponsors, any shout outs, your social media, anything you got to plug? Floor is yours.
Yeah, man, just follow me, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, it's all the same. It's Team Rock Biggie, TeamRoc Biggie. I hop on there all the time, man. I interact with people, so if you got anything you want to ask me, I do normally, even though I don't make my bets, I post them on Twitter. I talk a little shit, so get on there, join in on that. I am going to plug the Milwaukee Bistroplex tonight. Watched the Black Panther there, took a couple pictures. They hooked it up with some free movie vouchers. So if you're in the Milwaukee area, go check out the Bistroplex, eat a meal, watch a good film. Other than that, man, March 10th, I'm fighting Brian Baker, who is a Bellator veteran as well. I know he hasn't fought for quite some time, but fighting up in North Dakota for the Dakota FC. A couple other UFC vets on there, Johnny Case, Rob Emerson's on the card. So I'll be fighting on that. So just look out for that. Check me out. And, hopefully I'm back fighting on TV and in the big show where I belong sooner than later.
Awesome, Biggie. Thanks again for coming on. Great to have you. And thanks again.
Hey, make sure y'all check out my boy Brandon Lungano. He's fighting Johnny Case. He's from Georgia, one of the best lightweights we have here in Georgia. And if he beats Johnny Case, he could get that UFC call. So definitely check out that card with Biggie on it too.
Absolutely. Well, Daniel, thanks again. Biggie, have a good night, guys.
Peace out.
Peace, fellas.
Take it easy, guys.
All right, from
and
6
to
4, and yeah, exactly. It's still more than usual, but Go Paolo is sticking around. It's 12:30 where all you are. So let's get into this and get it over
I have to wake up at 7, so we got to get this shit moving.
Bellator 194 goes down tomorrow night, Friday night at the Mohegan Sun Arena on Cassville, Connecticut, United States of America. We got Roy Nelson, Matt Mitrione. The second fight of the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament goes down in the main event. As I said, co-main event, Patricky Pitbull Frere taking on Derek Campos. Got a fairly fun card. I guess let's start with Liam McGeary and Vadim Nemkov. I don't have a ton to say about it. I highly doubt any of you guys have much more, but we'll go to Jed first. Do you like McGeary, the former Bellator champion, or Vadim Nemkov, who some may know from Ryzen FF?
Ooh, man, McGeary. If you'd asked me this question like 2 years ago, I would have said definitely McGeary. But he's been so I don't know. He has not looked good lately. Just straight up, just has not looked like a very good fighter. I'm still, I guess, gonna take him here, just because I think that if he is fighting to his kind of peak, he might be a better fighter. And actually, no, fuck it, I'm gonna take Nemkov. Let's do it. Nemkov's younger. Who gives a shit? Yeah, give me Nemkov. Give me Baby Fedor.
Yeah,
it's not actually Baby Fedor, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was hoping you weren't going to say that because I'm actually taking Nemkov too. I think Nemkov's a great fighter. I think he's got some really powerful hands. I think, Jed, you nailed it on the head when you said McGeary. If I would have seen this fight maybe 2 years ago, I definitely would have gone McGeary's way. But even the Brett McDermott fight kind of scared me. McDermott landed some pretty good punches in that one. Linda Vassell just pretty much schooled him in all aspects, on the feet and also on the ground, an area that McGeary excels at, especially when he's off his back, and just didn't really do that much in the fight. I think Nemkov's a killer coming in here. I think he's coming off I know he's coming off a 3-fight win streak, and he did have a couple losses there back in Ryzen. But I think he's got some good potential. I think he's got some good talent. Going to be curious to see how he does if he gets McGeary down and how he handles in his guard. But I think if Nemkov can just kind of avoid that and keep it on the feet, this is an area that he's just going to be able to excel. I'm not picking McGeary. I was going to say he's my pick. Nemkov's my pick. I'm going out on the limb and saying Nemkov because he gets all of his finishes pretty much by knockout. I'm going to take him by first-round knockout for a pretty – I don't know if it's an upset, a pretty big upset, favorite, whatever. I think he'll get the job done.
Oh yeah, Daniel's not here anymore. Whoops. Yeah, no, I'm gonna go with Nemkov, but you guys keep picking him now. It's making me a little bit worried because I was thinking about making a bet on this guy too. But yeah, no, I think ever since Phil Davis took what's it called, Liam McGeary's title, I think he took his fighting spirit too, and he hasn't looked like the same guy. And Nemkov is not the type of guy you want to fight when you're not completely in there, because this guy's gonna kill you, and he can wrestle, and that's McGeary's weakness. You know, all these tall, skinny, lanky dudes. That's always been their weakness, getting taken down. And I think that's gonna be the key in this fight. So give me Vadim Nemkov.
Well, I kind of thought I was going to be the only one picking Vadim Nemkov, and now Lee McGeary is going to start him in round number 1, but I'm going to go Vadim Nemkov. I can't really believe this. I mean, I don't have the odds in front of me, but I'm going to think McGeary's like a 2-1 favorite at the lowest. Let me see. Pulling up best fight odds as we speak.
McGeary is -120.
Okay, that's actually a lot closer than I expected. So maybe
is +110 to -105, depending.
That's really close. So maybe we are on to something. I mean, my sort of 2 cents on this is Vadim Nemkov is on a 3-fight winning streak. He is a vicious fighter. He's younger. He's 25 only. Seems like the upside is on his side. Where Lee McGeary, he was undefeated, 12-0. He's lost 2 in a row. Lost the Bellator light heavyweight title to. He's 1-2 in his last 3. I forgot about the Brett McDermott fight because I mean, kind of everybody did. But as far as what has what he's done important is the loss to Phil Davis, in which he lost the title, and then he beat McDermott, and then he's coming off that submission upset to Linton Vassell. And so he seems to be. It's hard to say he's on the way down. He's still a talented fighter, but. Almost, I mean, I won't be shocked if he takes the Emmanuel Newton route, and you know he beats Newton for the title. Newton goes on a huge losing skid, and maybe the same thing for McGeary. The guy doesn't have very good takedown defense. Luckily for him, he's good in the guard, but I think Vadim Nemkov just might get the job done early. So give me Nemkov here by stoppage. We move to the co-main event, and I guess before that, does anybody care to say anything about Heather Hardy versus Anna Julatone? I personally don't.
Don't bet on Hardy. I have no idea why Heather Hardy's number is like that. But, I mean, if you're like one of those, like Heather Hardy's like the perfect type of fighter to just fade. Like, you know, like a lot of times women's MMA fighters, it's like the odds makers are just like us. They don't really give a shit much about it. And they'll see, oh, there's big name fighter coming in. She must be a big favorite. Usually that's like, if you just want, like, maybe, you know, take advantage of that fact, just put a little bit on the underdog. Although I can't recommend betting on this unless you're crazy like I am.
All right, let's move on to the co-main event of the evening. We got Patricky Pitbull Frere taking on Derek Campos in a very important lightweight bout. Of course, Brent Primus, the lightweight champion, is taking on Michael Chandler in a highly anticipated rematch in April. The winner of this, depending on who wins that fight and what happens, could end up fighting for the title next. Frere or Campos, Jed, who do you like?
Pitbull's better.
Good analysis.
That's the end of my analysis. No one gives a fuck.
I guess all I'll say is that I will say, I guess Derek Campos, his fight with Brandon Gertz was probably my favorite fight of 2017. I watched this live and was losing my mind. Awesome fight. Go back and watch it if you haven't yet. But besides that, I'm taking Patricky. As Jed said, he's pretty much better everywhere. He's looked great in his last 2 fights over Henderson and Thompson. Just pretty much schooled him in both. He did get knocked out by Chandler, which is pretty freaking awesome. I mean, Michael Chandler's knocked out. I'm a big Chandler fan, and that knockout was pretty sick. One of the best one punches I've ever seen. But besides that, could be a fun fight, but I'm taking Patricky. Same reason Jed said. He's just better in pretty much all areas. I think he's a really talented fighter, and will get the job done.
Yeah, Pitbull's going to win because he already beat him before. So I don't see why he's not going to beat him again this time. So give me Pitbull.
Yeah, Patricky Pitbull is going to get the job done here in the rematch again. Derek Campos, I think he's getting better. He's still, he's a good fighter, but Patricky, he's just, I feel, a step ahead in skill level than Campos. He's a bit sharper on the feet. He seems to have a bit more knockout power, although Campos does hit hard himself. And so it's hard to count out, Campos in this fight. but I'm going to go Pitbull, and a stoppage wouldn't shock me. Campos is super tough, and so it could go to the judges. I'll go Patricky with I'll go decision. I think this will be a fun fight. If I guess Bellator does give vote bonuses. I don't actually know for sure, but if they do, I think this will win fight of the night. Main event time. A rematch between Roy Big Country Nelson and Matt the Meathead Mitrione. As I said already, this is the second fight of the Bellator of the first round of the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix tournament. Of course, we had Rampage lose to Chael Sonnen last month. We also have Fedor versus Mir and Bader versus Mo. Jed, do you like Nelson again, or does Mitrione tie the series 1-1?
I have never believed that Matt Mitrione is good at fighting. He just keeps winning somehow, kind of despite reason or logic. Mostly because heavyweight's a dog shit division. Roy Nelson's not as nearly as good at fighting as he once was, but he can still take a punch. I think he can still knock out Matt Mitrione, and I think Matt Mitrione can take even less of a punch than he previously could. And shit, if Roy Nelson wants to, he could maybe even work takedown jiu-jitsu. I don't know. Who gives a shit? Roy Nelson.
My pick in this one is going to be I guess I'll take Matt Mitrione. To be honest, I mean, if this fight took place maybe years ago, I mean, which it did, it would have been better, which it was.
It did take place years ago, and Roy Nelson put his fucking lights out.
But the only thing I'm a little worried about is the fact I can't remember Roy Nelson ever recently, like, even really attempting to throw a punch besides the Antonio Silva fight. At least Mitrione throws a little bit more offensively. I feel like Nelson's just got to the point where he pretty much relies on just looking for the clinch. And that's how he got the win over Ayala, however you say his name. And Ayala pretty much was just, I thought, kind of looking pretty decent there on the feet. But just to make an interest, I'll take Mitrione. To be honest, I'm not really looking forward to this one a whole lot. I mean, it'll be fun to watch two veterans fight, of course, but I mean, I don't see Nelson throwing a whole lot. Maybe he can get that knockout. Mitrione's his chin's
way
pretty
too much
awful.
time on this dog shit. You're spending way too much time on this dog shit.
I'll take Mitrione.
Yeah, Mitrione's going to win, but like I said, Roy Nelson hasn't really fought like a striker lately. He's been going back to his jiu-jitsu wrestling roots. He's actually been living up this Big Country nickname because, he got that nickname because everyone thought he was from, one of those, those old school country places in the U.S. where he wrestled. And he's been doing that a lot now. And maybe he gets Mitrione down and rides him out and submits him on the ground. Or maybe Mitrione just decisions him and stuff. But the most interesting thing about their last fight was, apparently, according to Matt Mitrione, he kicked Joe Silva because he lied to him when he did that matchmaking. I don't know if I believe that. Matt Mitrione tends to exaggerate like 80% of the things he says. So who knows? But let's make it interesting. Let's go with Roy Nelson here. Maybe he submits Matt Mitrione. What's the line on Roy Nelson to submit Matt Mitrione? So Roy Nelson.
So Jed, you picked Nelson, right?
I did. I'm
going Wes,
to
you went
make
Mitrione.
a pick quickly.
Well, we're split down the middle. Give me Matt Mitrione by decision here in a fairly bad fight. I think though he's going to light Roy Nelson up on the feet. Not light him up. I mean, I don't think he's ever going to stun Roy Nelson. Takes a lot to knock him out, but I think he's going to have a lot higher output than Big Country. And ultimately, I think Big Country is mostly done. I mean, he beat Ayala, but I don't know how much that really means. Is Mitrione on the way up? Does he have a ton of upside? No, not really. But I like Matt Mitrione to get a decision and move on in the Bellator Heavyweight Grand Prix. Well, we have made it. The end of episode 100 of Before the Battle. Big sigh of relief comes from Jed. And thank you all for watching. Really, really appreciate it. If you don't mind, give this video a thumbs up down there. Subscribe to the channel down there if you haven't already. And any feedback for the show, drop a message in the comment section down below. And that'd be awesome. Jed, let's be very efficient with our plugs here. Let the people know.
Don't talk to me about fucking efficiency here. I've been killing game, you goddamn loquacious sons of bitches. Find me on Twitter, Jed K. Meshew. Read my writing, MMAfighting.com. Goodbye.
Wes,
you can find me, my writing on MMAsucker.com. You can also find my Twitter at all that MMA. Follow me on Instagram for all I care at Wesley Riddle. And besides that, I'm actually going to peace out right now because I have a bunch of homework I have to do and I have to get up pretty early. So I will catch you all later. Appreciated being on the 100th episode, and I will see you all next week.
See you, Wes.
Cheer up, Jed. Love you guys.
I can't cheer up. I still have to write my piece for the morning, and I have to wake up at 7 for work.
Well, I love you.
All right.
All right.
See you guys. Peace out.
Peace out, man. At Go Paolo MMA. It's a private account, so you gotta send me a request and stuff like that. If you don't, then, well, whatever. And you can go on betmma.tips. That's where I third-party track for my bets. That's pretty much what my account's for. And for my writing, don't worry about it. I'll tweet it and I'll tell you I wrote it. So there you go.
All right. You guys can find me on the Twitter at Nick Baldwin MMA. You can find all my writing over at bloodyelbow.com. You can check out all my interviews there and on this YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it if you haven't already. You can find my other shows, the MMA Circus, Beyond Combat, on this channel exclusively as well. And Jed and I, after UFC Fight Night 126, on Sunday, we will be doing our post-fight wrap-up show that started earlier this month with the Machida Anders card. That is all I have.
Doing that.
Is that Jed?
That is up in the air right now.
Okay. Well, we might not be doing it, but stay tuned and we will let you know. Thank you all for watching. We hope you enjoyed the show. And for Wes Riddle, for Jed Meshew, for Daniel Levy, for Mike Biggie Rhodes, and for Go Paolo, my name is Nick Baldwin. Enjoy the fights on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Love you guys.